Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Mindset Check. Today I have special guests, Christy and Drew Littlemoore. They are a dynamic duo, and something I learned from them is just the power of association. And we'll dive into that with them here shortly. Drew and Christy run a successful real estate team out of La Jolla. Not only do they work there, they live there. They have a son that goes to school in La Jolla. They are really deeply rooted in their community that they serve. So thank you guys for being on the show today.
You're
Absolutely.
welcome. We're excited.
So I was doing some research and I was looking at your questions or rather my questions and your answers. And a theme that came up a lot was just team and also complementary roles. So your answers, I don't know if you realize them, they were very different, right? And very complementary. The way you get ready for the day is Christy is different than the way Drew does. And there's no wrong or right way, but I think what's true for you, right? And so we'll dive into that. But also, like, you guys are a part of the Maxine and Marty Gallen's team.
Yes.
And I think I've seen over the years, because you guys have been there for a very long time, that there's a complementary relationship between you guys both as a unit with them as well.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so that's the theme I saw, and I was like, okay, let's dive into that because I want to learn from you guys how the power of association has played a role in your success in both personal and business.
Of course.
Yes.
So quick, if you guys can, let's dive into you guys. I asked you both, like, how do you prime yourself for the day? And it was really cool how you guys did that. And it's almost like, Christy, correct me if I'm wrong, you're a little bit more introspective in that approach. And Drew's a little bit more like, I want to be out there surfing with my son, connecting with friends. And you're like, I need to first kind of fill my cup up first. So there's a really cool complementary relationship there. Can you guys dive into that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I can go with my part for sure. I definitely get charged up by people, being around people. I'm the more social of the two of us. I mean, Christy's social too, but like, I grew up in La Jolla, so I know like hundreds and hundreds of people, and I actually get charged up when I see people and interact with people. That's what works for me. Not everybody is that kind of like outgoing and that works. Some people get tired from talking to people. I actually go the other way.
Yeah, and I need to ground myself. So I follow we're coached by, our team is coached by Tom Ferry, and he talks a lot about taking your meds, meditation, exercise, diet, sleep, but I add singing to mine as well. So I really, thrive off doing yoga in the morning. I journal, I meditate, and then try to write and sing. So I have this little routine that's more quiet before I go out into the world and start talking to people.
Sure. There's almost like a meditative process to what Drew does as well. I think surfing, every surfer I talk to is that it's a very meditative thing. Is that right, Drew?
Absolutely. It's a communing with nature, if you want to take it that far. But for me, it's like, it's exercise, it's health, it's well-being, it's nature, it's connecting with others. It's been a daily part of my life. I'm 55, and it's been a daily part of my life for the better part of 50 years. So it is something that's like ingrained in me.
Nice. And then you guys are very close. Obviously you're married, but I think even married couples, there's a spectrum of that too. Some couples like to work together. Some people, some couples can't. Talk to me about that. How did that formulate? I mean, we don't have to go to like history. I know you guys have a huge background in real estate and in the whole industry, but more so just, when did you come to the realization like, okay, this actually can work? Because I've seen it work. I've seen you out and about, and you guys are, creating videos. You guys are meeting people. You guys are connecting. You guys are, creating value and wealth for people. So when did this all come together for you guys, and how did you know it was going to work?
So, I mean, I think it took us about a year at the beginning to try to get it sorted out, like what our roles were going to be and how it was going to work. And you're absolutely right. The complementary part of our the two of us are that, Christy's a retired school teacher, and I'm a second generation real estate person here in La Jolla. And when we go meet a client, they're not always going to connect in with me. Maybe they'll connect in with her better than me, So when there's two of us, and oftentimes it's the wives that make real estate decisions. There's a brutal reminder. Right? And so they may connect in a little bit better with Christy, So that's kind of how it started, and how it's kind of morphed forward is we still do, equal parts in the business. Christy does more of the marketing stuff, and I'm more like the person that's out in front talking to people and doing all the social stuff, which I'm really good at.
Yeah. Well, and I worked, originally 10 years ago when I started working with Maxine and Marty, I worked as a part-time assistant for them. So I also learned all of the contracts, all the back end you don't see in real estate. So that made it work really well for Drew and I too, because I can focus on that in marketing, where he can focus on just being out there and talking to people, like he said.
Yeah, you have this really like lightness about you guys. Like when you're together, I've seen couples who work together. When they're together, they're like stressed out. They're not helping each other. They're not helping each other achieve much. And so you guys are very complementary. I actually see that in Marty and Maxine too. Like, and I talked to Marty about that as well. Like, whether you're into, astrological signs or not, like, she's a Libra, and then Maxine is an Aries. So like, I know that works because that's the same way I am with my wife. I'm an Aries and she's a Libra. And so like, I think for relationships to work really well in business and at home, it's like you have to have that complementary. You don't have to be the same. Obviously, there's beauty in having similarities, but there's this kind of like, okay, the other is showing you maybe where you can kind of bring it in a little bit and have some balance.
Yeah, I mean, listening to that, I haven't really thought too much about us. We've been together 22 years.
But you guys don't seem tired of each other, which is great. I love it.
No, we we do. We have a lot of core values that are the same, and one of those core values in that we practice a lot is like owning our mistakes. Like we do like each other and enjoy being together. We spend a lot of time together outside of work too, and yeah, we just really do have learned how to, keep enjoying each other and also give each other space. I think that also helps. We do have other things we're interested in, and we have always allowed each other to have those, which is great. I think that you should have your own interests outside of your marriage and partnership, and that's helped.
And it's also a great benefit for our marriage to work on a team of, there's 12 of us here, right? There's, a handful of agents, and then we have all our assistants, right? So it's not just the two of us running the real estate practice. So whenever, if Christy's gone doing something else and I need access to some files or whatever, I can easily access that. And I think that kind of takes some of the pressure off of it.
Yeah.
That definitely helps us. And just on top of all that, we're really good at communicating with each other. Yeah. And that's not always been the case. I think that's been, more so in the last maybe 5 to 7 years, where we've gotten much better at that, and that has alleviated a lot of the stressful situations.
Well, and I think just to add on to that is working together as a partnership in real estate, communication even with your clients really is everything. And I think our job when we started working together in this business, that was one of the first things we really needed to get good at, and we did work at that.
Yeah, and you guys mentioned, you're part of a larger team, and so there's that power of association. I feel like, you guys are constantly, iron sharpens iron. So, talk to me about how that has played a role in not just your business life, but your personal life.
I read a lot of Brene Brown, and one of the pieces in her book, most recent book, The Atlas of the Heart, she focuses on surrounding yourself with people who are not going to blow your candlelight out, meaning inside of each of us, we all have our own, soul, I guess, or light, right? So you want to surround yourself with people who are going to hold that in respect and not just be, blowing your candle out, to be able to know like who you're surrounding yourself with. When I met Maxine and Marty Gellens, before I worked for them, I saw them on a panel and of all these other agents, and I knew I wanted to be on a team. And one of the things that they were very respectful of each other. They're very kind to other people, and they also like to have a lot of fun. And so that's kind of how I operate with the power of association with people in my life. I'm very conscious of how I treat people and how they treat others.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that image Brene Brown gives. I'm very visual, so I can, that we all have our own light in us, and we want that to be respected by the people we're associating with.
Yeah, totally. That's a beautiful way to look at it. Just finding people who allow you to shine, let your light shine, and also, potentially help to build that light even brighter, right? Let you come out more and have you uh, surrounded by people and environments that help you to evolve, right?
Yes, yeah.
Help you to become even, that light to become even brighter. There's I used to, as a kid, I was, both of my grandparents were pastors, and there's always this song that sticks in my mind. It's like "This Little Light of Mine," right? I don't know if you know
Yeah.
that song, right?
Yeah.
So that's a beautiful way to look at it. I think it's just like going through your day, finding people who help you continue to shine. That's beautiful.
And doing the reverse, right? Helping them to shine as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I'm like more on the practical side. Like I have routines with I have two really close dear friends. One of them's a big, track home developer here in San Diego, like third generation developer. And another guy is a stock market person, right? And they're
Mm-hmm.
both about my age, and I have 100% complete rapport with them, right? So like, we can get into a lot of really, really philosophical conversations that happens most mornings, and that really helps me kind of stay out of fear. It helps me work in my business more openly, and just knowing that I have those kind of resources out there. They'll tell me the truth about stuff about me too that sometimes I don't always want to hear, but
Sure.
it's so helpful.
Yeah, when that goes back to communication, what you
Yeah,
guys were talking about,
yeah,
right? They're honest with you, they're
yeah,
communicative, they're not
yeah,
holding back. That's part of growth, right? Like
yeah.
sometimes we need to hear the things we don't want to hear.
There,
And you mentioned fear, Drew. Like
yeah,
everybody, everybody has fear, and I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you for being vulnerable to
sure.
to say that. I love hearing from guests, like, how do you manage fear? How do you deal with fear? And there are days that you don't have it, right? They're just kind of like, okay, you're in a good flow state. You're just kind of operating at a high level, and you may not encounter that. But there's maybe a day that's not going that well, and that's when those start to come in, right? They start to creep in. And Christy, you mentioned something that in that aspect as well, where you kind of quiet the chatter, which probably adds to the fear. So can you both answer that, or kind of speak on how maybe you handle and deal with fear?
Sure. I mean, I have a bit of a mantra around it, so for me, like when I have, say, maybe I have an uncomfortable phone call coming up that I don't want to make or something like that, I have a mantra that my only job is to be of service to my clients, right? To be honest with my clients, to put their needs first, and to be fearless with them, because that's how we're going to be able to operate. And so I don't have to like give away half my day being worried about this phone call or worried about what's coming up next, because high-end residential real estate is not for the faint of heart. I work with a very high-end educated group of people, so I need to be able to be 100% myself with them, and those mantras just help me stay out of fear.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have. I think self-talk is, watching myself talk. So that's been a practice actually since I switched careers from teaching to real estate. It's a fearful thing to switch careers
Mm-hmm.
at 40. To say,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'm not going to do what I went to college for. I'm going to do something totally different, and
Yes.
it's commission based only, and
Mm-hmm.
I have to learn everything new, and all that is really fearful. So I had a lot of old self-talk, and actually because I was raised in a family of teachers and raised
Mm-hmm.
in a military family, like this was way out of the box to go into real estate. So
Yes.
I had a lot of negative self-talk, and
Sure.
so I've had to do a lot of work around affirmations. Yoga really does help me with that
Mm-hmm.
too, but a lot of affirmations around, and watching what that self-talk is. Where is it coming from? Is it even mine? Is it real? No. Some of it is just not. It's just stuff I've picked up growing up, or picked up in my education or whatever, and that doesn't apply to me anymore. And like Drew said, one of our core values is really to be of service to our clients as best that we can. So to be present, I have to have a clear mind, right? I have to be grounded in my alignment with who I really am today. And and gosh, affirmations just really are so good. And the other thing I've learned recently to do is keep a book of positive aspects. And that can be when it's like, if my self-talk is really bad, I can just focus on like one thing that no matter what I do, like I love dogs, right? And I could just like write a page about all the reasons I love dogs, and by the end of that page, I mean, it sounds so silly, but it takes my mind away from the negativity. And all of a sudden I'm just focused on, I can just get that feeling of centeredness and alignment pretty quick when I focus on some random thing that I can just focus positively on.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I mean, I think what I'm hearing is clarity, intentions, that's important. For Drew, it's like, okay, be intentional. Like what I may be in fear, but what is my intention? What is my purpose at this moment? And really focusing on the things that we can control. And then Christy, it's about you getting really centered, finding that space so you can hold that space for maybe a client or a team member, and then really being, present, really being, having that clarity of mind, so then you can go forth in your day and not have that fear or that negativity.
Well, yeah, because I think the most important piece when meeting with clients is listening to them, right? So if I'm in alignment with myself and I have like cleared away, now it's a lot easier than 10 years ago when I was switching careers, but it's like, when I can sit and really listen to what my client is saying, our clients, what their real needs are, then I can actually help with the solution for that if I'm out of the way, right? So it's getting me out of the way so I can focus on, what is in front of me at that moment and listen.
And what about fear that is not around business? What if it's fear based on, all of us, your parents, I'm a parent, and it's just kind of like you're always thinking about your kids and, what world are we going to leave them with? And so how do you guys manage maybe the fear on a personal level, or losing a loved one, or something that may rattle you up a little bit differently?
Yeah, I mean, so we have a 16-year-old son who's at La Jolla High School, so he's just entering his junior year in high school, and obviously there's lots of fear when you hand over keys to a 16-year-old, 16-year-old, and so you kind of like cut him loose a little bit more and those kind of things. But we always come back to the same core value, the connection and having the communication. So like our son is so honest with us. Sometimes it leaves us kind of astounded at times because it's like, okay, he's telling us exactly what's going on. I don't really like what he's telling me, but he's telling me, right? So the communication's open. And so for us, that relieves some of the fear because I know exactly what's going on, right? I know exactly where he stands. And, as far as like on a larger level, staying out of fear, I mean, there's so much going on in the world at all times that, we always try to like come back to center, get our feet planted on the ground and saying, we're a family unit. We're close. We're tight. We're all honest with each other, and we're going to do the best we can. And we also have a spiritual aspect to our household. Sometimes it revolves around Star Wars, especially when my son was littler, because he can tolerate that, right? And so we do have that going on in our like immediate family. So that's a helpful thing too.
Yeah, and I think, I've learned that fear is also can be a very healthy part of our life, right? Like, so fear is an emotion that is a signal to us that we need to look at something, or we need to be aware of something. So in a lot of my reflections in my life, I've really tried to learn and look at, so not to deny being in fear or pretend I'm fine, and just being able to be like, okay, is this something I really need to address in fear? Or is this something that's kind of blowing up because I don't have the tools or I don't have maybe a direction with this yet? And so Drew and I do surround ourselves I speak for both of us on this, but with people who we can talk to, so like for instance, with, I think the biggest fear is really around parenting. I think parenting is the hardest job in the world.
Sure.
And I really
Totally.
do. I think it brings up every emotion that your body can feel.
Uh-huh.
And so I have a couple of moms who have kids ahead of me.
Uh-huh.
That I know I can call and be really honest with. Like, should I be afraid of this, or how did this work out for you? And so I think having those tight connections of people who really will, share their own experiences is really how I get through some of those bigger fears that I don't know really what direction to go in.
Man, that is beautiful. I love that. You guys are so honest. I appreciate you both for being vulnerable and sharing that. Just kind of wrapping this up. Is there any advice that you would give maybe to somebody who maybe is, in that point that we all may be at times where we're trucking along, we're doing our best, but maybe we don't feel like things are going the way we want them to go, or things aren't going exactly at the pace that we want them to. What's something that you would say to help that person or someone else kind of get more inspired, or say, hey, there's hope, there's there's light, there's a beauty to this all, to the journey?
For me, like, I know that I rely on we have like a team of people around us. That's kind of how I look at not our real estate team, but in our personal lives, right? Where there's people that'll tell me the truth, and people that are spiritual, and all these different people, right? And with those, they're always offering help, always. And sometimes I ask for it, right? So my suggestion for those people that are out there that are maybe struggling in the moment or whatever is to rely on the people around you, because they're all pulling for you. You got to remember to do that, because those people that love you and care about you are pulling for you.
Well said.
Yeah. Life will always bring you the teacher when you're ready. Just say yes to that, I think, is my response to that.
Just being open to accept the help.
Yeah.
Well, I love both of those answers. I definitely will keep them tucked away and pull them out as needed for me in my journey in my life. Because I think we can all, on a real level, we can all be in those states at some point, whether past, present, or future. But thank you guys so much. You have both been such an awesome pair, a team to have on here. You guys were so real, honest, and vulnerable, and shared some of your wisdom. Would love to have you back at a different time.
Yeah, anytime.
Thank you guys, and you have a great day.
Take care.
You
Thanks
too,
again.
David.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.